Okay, so let's begin this debate competition. Okay, so good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to Entab presents CampusCare Debate, an inter-school debate competition where we have participants from the different regions of the country. So before I begin, let me quickly introduce you to Entab. We are a 21-year-old IT company engaged in providing mature and futuristic school ERP, CRM, and mobile apps to the various schools spread across India and help them to transform them from good schools to the best ones. So before starting, let me just make you run through the rules of the debates competition. And the rules are as follows. So, rule number one, each contestant will get 2 minutes to speak on the topic. The speech must not exceed 3 minutes. Rule number two, after the participant finishes their speech, the floor would be open for interjection. All right. Rule number three, an interjector is allowed only one question per contestant and cross questioning is not allowed. Rule number four, speaking out of turn or any misbehavior may lead to immediate disqualification. And the last and the most important rule is as we mentioned that the winners of this debate competition would be decided upon two criteria. So first one is by the scores given to you all by our esteemed jury members. Then the second, like rest 50% would be dependent upon the votes which are given by you, to you by the audience during the live session. Okay, and please make a note. Please make sure that the votes of the subscribers will only be valid. Now it's time to introduce you all with our esteemed judges, the jury members for the debate competition. So we have with us is Mr. Saumin sir. Saumin sir, welcome to the debate competition.
Uh, uh, Good afternoon, Megha, as well as the whole Entab team. And it's a nice privilege for me on behalf of GRS Public School. I'm joining as a jury in this prestigious debate competition organized by Entab. It's a nice organization, and best wishes to all the participants for your good work.
Thank you, Saumin sir. Thank you so much. Now moving on to the next jury member, we have Mr. Anurag Sharma. Anurag sir.
Omega, thank you for the opportunity. I would like to say to all my young friends that your preparation is speaking on your face. So I am so delighted to see your confident faces, and I'm sure that the next 1 hour would be very enriching for me. I'm going to learn a lot from all of you. And I just wish to say all the best to all of you. And also, I would like to thank NTAP for providing all of us this opportunity. It is a pleasure to meet the young youth of this country and to get to know their views about various topics. So it's a pleasure. Thank you, NTAP. Thank you, wonderful children.
Thank you so much. So now moving on to the debate competition. So the topic is, are today's children becoming narcissists? And we can start with for the motion category. And for this, our first participant we have with us is Siddhi. Siddhi, please go ahead.
All the best.
Am I clearly audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. See, there comes the smart aleck. This is what they want. Everyone's attention. And we know them as narcissists. People with an exaggerated sense of self-importance. Did you notice the word exaggerated? Yes. This excessiveness of self-love makes the person self-centered, self-important, and selfish as well. So I would keep my views in a very few points because I feel that the base of this issue is not something that requires much statistics or some data. Rather, it is something that we all experience around us. And I can explain this to you vividly. Who can deny the fact that such children belonging to very well-off families boasting of their intellect, are actually not talented but rich. I mentioned such. So, why is it so? Because they feel that they are already born with a silver spoon in their mouth and hence they can achieve anything effortlessly. Doesn't this reflect their overconfidence? But this overconfidence also sometimes exceeds the limits, making them feel that they are superior to all others. And this is when they come across as a narcissist with an arrogant personality. Now, by many psychologists, this trait is seen as something which is required by people in today's envious and green eyed world. But if we put aside adults and talk about children, don't you assent that this trait seems to be a negative one? Where children are considered to be God's image, they are proving themselves to be supercilious, contemptuous, and extremely immodest towards others, abusing every fellow mate and everyone who fails to agree with their perspectives. And after all, this is a trait of narcissistic personality disorder. But the origins of narcissism in children basically is not well understood by everyone. The main and the longitudinal evidence of its origin in children is cultivated by parental overvaluation, which means that parents either consider their child to be the most special of all or to be the weakest. And that's why they said a narcissist kid blame the parents. With this, I would like to rest my case here. Thank you everyone for lending such a patient ear.
Thank you, Siddhi. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to open the floor for interjection. So, okay, Ashmit, please go ahead.
Right. So the motion for this debate clearly states that are today's children becoming more narcissistic? Therefore, does the proposition speaker have any evidence to suggest the fact that today's children are becoming more narcissistic than they were previously?
Of course, I do have many evidences, but I would like to give you the most basic evidence. When anyone, or if we take example of parents suggest you that you should do this thing like this manner and keep away your manner, then what do you say? I'm not particularly referring you, but many children, what do they say? Oh, I know all this, I can do anything, and you need not interrupt my talk. So this is a step towards becoming a narcissist. Do not listen. These people do not listen to anyone, and if it is present in children, gradually they can also become a victim of narcissist personality disorder. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddhi. Thank you so much. I hope your question is clear, right? Okay. Now we can move to our next participant is Paki. Paki, please go ahead.
Yes. Greetings, everyone. I'm Paki, and I would like to present my views on the topic of today's topics for the motion. I'm sure all of you must have grooved to the song "I'm the Best" by Shah Rukh Khan. Well, it is a classic example of narcissism. Narcissism comes from a Greek word in which a man falls in love with his own reflection, which eventually led to his death. Narcissism. In recent studies, we have seen cases of rising cases of narcissism in today's generation. May I speak?
Paki, I can hear you reading. Like I can hear the buttons. Okay. Do you want to continue?
Just a moment, ma'am. Can I go next?
No worries. No worries. Take your time. Then we can go. In the meanwhile, we can go with Saumya. Saumya, please go ahead. Yes, Saumya. Do we have you here?
Am I
Yes. Go ahead.
am I audible?
Yes. Perfect and clear. Please go ahead, Saumya.
Okay. I can never be wrong. Whatever I do is always right. My phone is the best phone. Isn't it this and me attitude that most of the children are exhibiting today? Good afternoon, everyone. I Saumya and Dayawati Modi Academy present before you my take on the topic, are today's children become, I'm speaking for the motion. Narcissism has become a cultural reality today. Self-obsession, heightened sense of self-admiration, arrogance, moody are some of the common used words that are used to describe children today. They want to bask in the glory of praises, appreciation, and compliments. They are so self-obsessed that they forget they have a world beyond. Overshowering of parental pampering and overvaluation of their worth have left them enveloped in arrogance, egoistic behavior, and intolerance. They can't accept failure and defeat. According to a psychologist, high school students today has the same level of anxiety as the average psychiatric patient in the early 1950s. Why is it so? Just because they have become so self-absorbed that little bit of rejection leads them to anxiety, depression, and even suicides. To all my worthy opponents who talk about tolerance and empathy in today's child, a 20-year-old boy abused an army soldier in front of his mother just because he was stopped for violating COVID guidelines. Is this the tolerance and empathy are you talking about? And how can we forget this vital element of today's youth? Social media. Posting a picture every hour has become a burning passion for them. And for that, they don't shy away risking their own life. They can do anything just to garner likes for a cool selfie. They themselves feel pretty good, but make people around them suffer. Lastly, I would like to say, being a narcissist is to be your own God in creating your own hell. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Soumya. Now, I would like to open the floor for interjection. Okay, so just let me see who wants to interject. Okay, Vanshika, please go ahead.
Thank you. Soumya, that was a great speech. I'm sorry, is that network connection? Could you please mute that person?
Yes, like guys, can you please mute yourselves? Okay, go ahead.
Soumya, in your speech, you stated that self-obsession that leads to narcissism leads or is the reason why children today have anxiety, depression, and suicidal feelings. That means you just said that self-obsession, that is the first stage of narcissism, is considered as the fourth stage, that is the dangerous stage of any psychological disorder. So you mean to say any self-obsessed kid is in the prime stage of a disorder and that is the prime reason for their suicidal attempts and depression? Just like that. Thank you.
Yes, Soumya.
Okay, so yes, I feel that a kid who is self-obsessed by his or herself is in the primary stage of being narcissist because, self-obsession is a trouble to that kid only. Like we see social media platforms allow young children to engage in exhibitionistic and self-promoting behavior. They're posting a picture, like we can see how much children are bothered about the likes in their picture. So I think, yes, self-obsession is the primary stage of being a narcissist. And thank you.
Thank you, Soumya, though you didn't justify my question, but thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, I was not able to listen to your question because your voice was distorting at the last. So I'm really sorry for that.
Okay, no worries. We will move to our next contestant.
Excuse me.
I'm so sorry for interrupting. I just had one very troubling question. Unfortunately, I don't have an option to virtually raise my hand on the Zoom meeting.
You can
And the fact
physically raise
is,
your
it's
hand, right? Yes.
precisely it's much easier and faster to raise your hand virtually than it is physically. So I'm afraid that my competitors would be able to raise it faster than myself.
Okay. So just a request to everyone, if you want to interject, just raise your hand physically, like ऐसे करके, ठीक है? Then I will just call your name and then you can interject. Okay?
I
Ma'am, I
appreciate
have
it.
a
Thank you so much.
Okay.
ma'am. I have a question related to that. Ma'am, actually, I didn't raise my hand virtually, but I raised my hand physically like 2 times. But I guess you only noticed the word
No, no, no. I was
raised hand.
noticing
So,
this thing only. So guys, just raise your hand like
ma-
this and you'll get your turn. Okay?
ma'am,
Okay.
but yesterday you clearly told on the meeting that you guys only need to raise your hands physically, right?
Yes, like this. Okay. So now we'll move to our next participant. We have with us is Kashyap. Kashyap, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, please go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kashyap Nag, and I'm for the topic. Let's talk about what narcissism means for children. It is defined as a child with traits of inflated self-worth, emotional fragility, and lack of empathy. To me, all of these traits just look like inflated versions of what a young child's behavior already is. These traits, these traits are already present in young childs to a degree, as it was important for survival. And in this age of social media, most children are exposed to such content at a young age. This is also the age of rampant beauty advertisements who show inaccurate representations and cause kids to either develop a view akin to narcissism or degrade themselves further, and which causes further problems to themselves. And then we have the illustrious Indian film industry, which sets unrealistic standards for both men and women. The problem with films is that when one attribute is given importance, and it means that attribute is desired, and one attribute is refrained to be shown in films, it entails that attribute is not desired. As you can see, as you might have expect, this effect is very undesirable and it's everywhere in our society, which causes some people to be increasingly put on a pedestal, whereas some are downtrodden. Now, all these, we're talking about the narcissistic traits children acquire through outward appearances. Let's talk about the other. The pressure of Indian society is immense. Some subjects are considered better, while some subjects are not. And getting good grades in those subjects which are considered better are rewarded. And getting good or bad grades in those subjects which are considered not is ignored. In this ply for validation from their parents, children can obtain like an air of narcissism. This practice is not healthy, as those whose traits lies elsewhere are once again crushed. Scientists have theorized that the leading cause of narcissism in early years of a child are mainly caused by parenting styles of overprotectiveness or neglectfulness. And I'm sad to say, but both of these can be seen in the Indian society. When a male child is sheltered by their parents and they're extremely overbearing and overprotective of them, whereas a female child is neglected and mistreated. Of course, this is not the case in many parts of India, but it is still a very sizable issue. In conclusion, the children of today have become narcissists. The cultural atmosphere, as well as unfortunate situations in their atmosphere, all contribute to this regretful truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Kashyap. Thank you so much. Then, Kartikey, please go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, I would like to put emphasis on your part where you said that today the generation is having lack of empathy, right? So
Kartikey, you are not audible to me, child.
Kartikey, can you please be a little bit louder?
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the speaker right now stated in their part that lack of empathy is found in today's generation, but I would like to pay emphasis on that today's generation are organizing events like today's debate, are organizing, drives and communication events and whatnot on so many social media sites. They are sharing contents, they're sharing knowledge, and they're, often they are really often organizing open forums, something called as open forums. They're where they discuss each other's problems, they try to solve it out, they try to make out a conclusion. I just don't get how that is lack of empathy. Can you please justify that? Thank you.
Yes, yes. I agree to most of your points as I stated in my speech as well. But these online social forums, as you said, as much good and positivity comes out of them, there's an equal amount of toxicity and ill words that are being spread in these same social forms. So I agree when you say that many students have empathy, or children in particular have empathy, but you can't argue that everybody has it. And it's an alarming majority of the people who don't, and people who have malice in these social forms, as you said. So I don't think it's just to consider that just because it has a positive view that everything is fine. If you go deeper, I'm sure you'll find that there's a lot of rampant malice going on in these forms, as you mentioned, which you mentioned. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Kashyap. Thank you so much. Next, we can move to Hemant Sinha. Hemant, do we have you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please go
Now
ahead.
audible? Yes, ma'am. A very good afternoon to all present here. My name is Hemant. I'm from Mount Literacy School, Ghaziabad, and today I'm going
Just a
to
second,
speak.
Hemant, I can't see you.
Is it fine now?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, ma'am. A very good afternoon to all present here. My name is Hemant Sinha. I'm from Mount Literacy School, and today I'm going to speak for the motion of the topic, Are Today's Children Becoming Narcissists? A simple yet sufficient word to sum up my thoughts on this topic would be yes. Today's children are becoming narcissists indeed. A research conducted on people of different ages concluded that the people born in 2000s were more narcissists than the people born in 1980s and 1990s. A report says that 0.5% of the total population of the United States of America is narcissist. Although it appears to be such a small number, but it actually means that 1 in every 200 people in the United States of America is narcissist. With a large number of people being narcissist in the country, in the society, narcissism has finally found a new ally in the younger groups of children and teenagers. As a result, a great number of children have become narcissists. Nowadays, parents are really up to something. They are teaching, they are reminding their children continuously that they are special, they are unique, there's no one like them. All these ideas frequently fed into the minds of young children do no good than making the child narcissist and bringing out the undesired outcome. Furthermore, the teenagers create a special case wherein what all matters to them in their life is their own self, nothing except materialistic things apart from it. And the saddest part of all is that they hardly matter, that they're slowly transforming from humans to animals that could read, talk, and write. They are lost the ability to be empathetic. Moving on, we all know the worth of a bucket list in everyone's life. But in these modern times, do you expect a child to write something like, I want to plant 100 trees, or I want to make the world a better place? Of course not. Narcissism is affecting the brains of young children severely, and the implications can be seen in many real life situations. Nowadays, we hear a lot of statements like, humanity does not exist anymore. Analyzing this statement, we can state that humanity existed earlier, and so did the previous generation, which was eventually replaced by us, the young generation. Hadn't we been trustworthy, sympathetic, this statement could not have been said. At last, I would like to conclude that we, the young generation, are the future, and we also know that the future is in danger. But I must say that the future is the danger. What's better, to solve a problem or to run from it? Of course, to solve it. Then why are we debating the existence of narcissism in young children's mind? We have to work against this. Well, these are not the issues raised by Elon Musk in his tweets. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hemant. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to open the floor for interjection. Yes, Pratish, please go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. As he said that today's children are not taking care of, they don't have taking care of the environment in their bucket list. I would like to ask that which generation do you think has it in their bucket list? Because as I see it, today's generation is pretty much very caring for the environment outside, and they try to uh, support every bill or every act that our country passes, like the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Our generation has the maximum participation, and it helps us scale more because as I am here, I tell my parents to follow the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or to plant more trees. So does every child in their home. So how are you saying this? Can you show any fact or any example? Thank you.
Yes, of course. Let me remind you of a line I sentence that the researchers have concluded that the people born in 2000s were more narcissistic than the people born in 1980s and 1990s. Now, the question is, how did they decided that the people born in 2000s were more narcissistic than the people in previous generations? So, what they did was ask people questions. They gave them a form of different questions, some of which included that for a narcissist person, they wrote that if I ruled the world, it could have been better. So this is a statement of narcissism, and they also mentioned in the same report, the same research report, that the people born in 1950s and some of the people have stated in their bucket list about the precaution towards environment. But nowadays, do you really expect the children on social media? Do you really expect them to post even a selfie with a tree? Do you expect them? Nowadays, children are, yes, they are protected towards the environment, but does that mean that every child is concerned towards the environment? Not every person is the same. We all have different thoughts, and that's what's happening. That's why I included this line, and the inclusion of this line was just to state the difference in the mentality of the children in previous generation and of the this generation. Hope I'm clear.
Okay. Then we would move to the next participant. Next we have is Rohan Gupta. Rohan, do we have you
Um,
here?
yes, can you please confirm that I am clear, loudly, and visible?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon to one and all present here. Today, I'll be speaking for the motion for the given topic: are children these days being narcissists? So, first of all, what is narcissism? What exactly do you mean when you call someone narcissist? Narcissism is the phenomenon in which people fantasize about their own success, and they believe that they require special treatment. They believe that they are superior than others. Now, let us plunge into the topic. Are today's children narcissists? David Frederick Jockland is an American psychologist, and he is the professor of psychology in the Florida Atlantic University in United States. He states that narcissism present in young children as follows. Young children are quite cognoscente when it comes to estimate about their own abilities. Children have an overly optimistic and an overly enthusiastic perspective of their own physical and mental abilities, but they do not understand the distinction between what they think they can do versus what they can actually do. According to the United States National Library of Medicine and the National Institutes for Health, narcissism has been a rise for decades, especially among the youths in the Western countries. What basically the youths in many parts of the world don't actually understand is that the difference between their actual self views versus their ideal self views, which of course as a result creates self views which are unrealistic and which are impractical. Children between the age group of 7 to 15 especially form images of themselves where they hyperbolize and exaggerate all their positive attributes, and hence as a result create unrealistic images of themselves. Now, my opponents from the other side of the motion, of course, may say that, of course, we are overestimating them, or it is the self confidence and not narcissism. But I would like to make clear of the fact that we must not and we should not ignore the fact about the unrealistic standards setting by the children. And of course, we need to understand the distinction between self confidence and overconfidence. In the end, I would like to conclude by saying that narcissism is a vulnerable view of self and it does nothing, absolutely nothing, but traps people, especially children, into a delusionary trap where they overestimate themselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I would open the floor for interjection. So who wants to interject? Yes, Divneet.
Like you said that narcissism is like fantasizing about our own success. Is fantasizing about our own success bad? You must have also fantasized about winning this competition, right? So is fantasizing about a success bad? Is it bad according to you? Shouldn't we do that?
See, I believe that fantasizing about success is good, but you should fantasize according to your own caliber, right? If a student does not work hard and if he's not working hard and if he dreams to be the CEO of SpaceX one day, do you think is it possible? And if he keeps boasting around it, don't you think is it narcissistic? Similarly, I would like to give another example. For example, I fantasized about winning this competition. So of course I had to work on this, and of course I did not keep on boasting all my friends that of course I'm gonna win it and I'm gonna win a prize of 5,000, right? So that is why we need to fantasize according to our own caliber and we need to imply what we are trying to achieve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Rohan. Thank you. Next, we would love to have Rishika. Rishika, please go ahead.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, perfectly. Please go ahead.
A wise man once said, a narcissist will always throw upon on your face what all they have done for you, but won't tell a word what you have done for them. Good morning, everyone. I, Vrishika Mistry, am here to stand for the motion, are today's children becoming narcissists? With increasing modernization and urbanization, there is a rise in individualism and an interest on self and inner feelings. And because of that, the social norm is getting declined. And because of that, the families are not able to connect with the kids once as they once used to. All these factors cause a loss to today's generation. And as this loss is faced, the kids of this generation are becoming narcissists day by day. There are many urban problems faced by parents, like they have to manage their work, give time to their kids, do their household chores, and they are not able to do that. And hence, because of that, kids are getting selfish. They are getting unempathetic. In these urban times, small families are more preferred compared to big families. A single child preference is more, and because of that, kids don't learn how to share things, and parents tend to run after their kids 24/7. And because of that, the child expects the same behavior from others. And when they don't receive this, they become very clumsy. They don't think twice. I would like to say that nowadays parents like to brag about their kids, their super talented kids. Often the child is talented, but often the child is very talented, but because of often the child is very talented and compassionate, but the bragging, but because of this and increasing competition, the child the love between the parent and the child is getting conditional. If you come first in race, if you win the debate, if you score more marks than Sharmaji's uncle, Sharma uncle's son or daughter, you are being praised with love and attention. But if you are not, you are a disappointment. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishika. Thank you so much. Now I would like to open the floor for interjection. So, okay, Aditi, go ahead.
Okay, so as my knowledgeable opponent had submitted that first she said that the parents are busy with their jobs. And in the next statement, she said that parents tend to run behind their kids the whole day. These two are very diverging statements, right? I would like you to justify how these two contrasting statements can result into a same result. I would like you to justify that for me.
Thank you for your question. I would like to answer by saying that generally the family has nowadays the family has both the parents as working members. But if you are the alone kid, you are getting most of the attention. Your parents, whenever they see you, they will give you the full attention, and your attention is not divided between your siblings. And because of that, you expect the same thing from others. Hope I answer your question.
Okay, thank you, Rishika. Thank you so much. Next, we would love to hear Akshat. Akshat, do we have you here? Do we have Akshat in the house?
I am audible and visible.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Morning, everyone. Myself, Akshat, Gujarat.
Seems to be a problem in Akshat's. Akshat, you can please start over again.
Yes, Akshat, like we are not able to hear you in between.
Akshat, children become narcissists? Yes, I strongly affirm in the motion. In today's moralless world, egoism
can you hold on, Akshat? Akshat, can you hold on, child?
Yes, can you please?
We don't mean to disturb you, but what will happen is the judgment will, suffer because of the network. We don't want you to suffer because of the network issues. So I would request Megha ma'am to give the chance to somebody else. And meanwhile, Akshat, if you can take care of your network problem.
Okay, so may I need to start again?
Definitely after the next contestant.
Okay. Right? Then we can go with Ashmit. Ashmit, do we have you here?
Yes, absolutely. I'm here. Just before I begin, just a couple questions.
Okay, sure.
I hope I'm audible and visible. Perfectly fine. All right. I hope the background.
Perfect.
Yes.
Mr. Akshat, can you please mute yourself? I'm unable to. Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. One request. Can you give me a countdown 3, 2, 1, and then I'll begin.
Okay.
It's always easier that way.
So 3, 2, 1.
A very good afternoon to my worthy opponents, judges, and the House at large. Today's motion stands before us as are today's children becoming narcissists? As the proposition for this debate, it is vital for us to define the key terms for this debate. Now, according to Oxford, the definition of the term narcissist is a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves. Now, the proposition would like to begin by citing one important statistic by the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. Quote, surveys show us that 90% of teens ages 13 to 17 have used social media, 70% report having at least one active social media profile, and 51% report visiting a social media site at least daily. And on average, teens are online almost 9 hours a day. And the fact is, survey after survey proves to us that teens are increasingly becoming tremendously addicted to social media. Now, where is the link between social media and narcissism? According to research by the US National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health, a systematic review of 65 studies done over thousands of students found positive associations between intensive social media use and symptoms of key psychiatric disorders, which include body image dissatisfaction, disordered eating, grandiosity, aggression, dominance, hypersensitivity, an intense desire and flair for approval, defensiveness, which increase significantly with an increase in social media usage. Now, all of these attributes which have been listed above, all of these behaviors and characteristics come under narcissism. Now, let's understand how this truly manifests itself in children and society. Social media incentivizes children to make sure that they look thin and fit in a picture, that their makeup is on point and that they aren't showing too much skin. An individual feels pressured to look good and impress their peers and people on social media. It becomes difficult to maintain a perfect vision of yourself with frustrations and low self-esteem, particularly when your social media persona doesn't actually fit your real life one. This causes an increase in narcissistic tendencies and are extremely detrimental to the psyche of a child. And now the fact is, study after study proves to us that most social media usage is proportional and directly commensurable to narcissistic afflictions, and its presence and prevalence in young teens is rapidly increasing through social media platform usage, and thereby increasing the prevalence of narcissistic tendencies in individuals under the age of 18. With that being said, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashmit. Thank you so much. Now I would like to, yes, Shivayu.
You have well described about the quality of speech. Don't you think narcissist is a personality disorder affecting only few people on earth? Then how can you say today children is narcissist?
Right, sir. I appreciate your question a lot. Right, so according to a study by the American Academy of Child, Adolescent and Psychiatry, of course, the fact is that every single child isn't subject to narcissism. However, intense social media usage can cause hyper-narcissism. And the fact is there are two types of narcissism. There is grandiose narcissism and vulnerable narcissism. Vulnerable narcissists are more likely to be defensive, and they view each other, they view themselves as, they view others as being hostile, whereas grandiose narcissists have an inflated sense of importance and preoccupation with status and power. The fact is, with an increase in social media usage and an increased desire to portray yourself as being different and better than others, it depends on our atmosphere and our surroundings. And once again, the area and the people we grow up in and the amount of social media usage, of course. And study after study proves to us that the few amount of children who do intensively use social media, including the study conducted by the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, the rates of narcissistic personality disorders and narcissism in general increase in the children population under the age of 18. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we would move to Hazel. Hazel, please go ahead.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon, my team members, my opposing team members, juries, and audience. I am Hazel Daria, and I am standing for the motion that is, yes, today's children are becoming narcissists. What is narcissism? Narcissism is the one, or a narcissist is the one who is likely to be getting constant admiration and attention, who thinks that world revolves around them, or they are controlling your life. So the other reason is that due to the child development. So here we are in a teenage, so we are most likely to get attracted towards the different things like social media and all. So this is the development of us. And parents, teachers, and others involved with the development of children are raising their children by frequently praising them. So here I am addressing a quote by Jill Blakely. When a toxic person can no longer control you, they will control how they will see you, how the other person would see you. So the misinformation will feel unfair, but stay above it, trusting that the others will eventually see the truth. So there are a few examples. Many parents are bragging about the kids to others. Many parents are constantly telling the children how wonderful they are. And every child is getting a compliment, either a participation certificate, either a trophy. So hence, they are becoming arrogant. The other thing is that the kid is always looking out for number one. They are not thinking about anyone. They do not have time to think about anyone. So they are becoming arrogant. They would always look for win instead of defeat. In a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is the parents or the environment surrounded by them are making children narcissists. Thank you.
Thank you, Hazel. Thank you so much. Now I would like to open the floor for interjection. So, okay, yes, Kartikey, go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, you just stated in your part that participation certificates are a sort of motivating factor that increase arrogance in today's teens. But if you see it in today's scenario, like in this debate, if you are not given the participation certificate, don't you think you will get a bit depressed and sad and upset, and you won't apply for any other debate soon. Also, if we are not given participation certificates, we are not motivated. This is not a source of arrogance, this is a source of motivation. Can you please justify that? Thank you.
I respect your question, and I would like to give my point. This is my personal view. If we are given a participation certificate, then there are some kids who brag about them, who give misinformation to the person. So there are some, not everyone is like that. I hope I am clear to you.
And the sum cannot be used to define the whole category. But thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
So how are you choosing who gets to, interject? Because one of the candidates got a chance 2 times, but some of us did not even get to interject even once. So is there a criteria as to who gets picked to interject?
I can see the hand raise. Whoever
I
raises.
raised my hand for literally all the speeches and did not get picked. So that's why I was really curious.
Okay.
So, Ansh, it is good that you're very enthusiastic about getting a chance. And yes, I agree that there has to be a fair chance of distribution. But when a debate is going on and the chances are given, no one has prejudice about who should get a chance, right? So let's go with it, right? And I'm sure that you, in the next chances to come, you may also get a chance to ask a question. Thank you for your enthusiasm.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Now we would, can we have Pakhi here? Pakhi?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we go with you? Okay.
Sorry for the interruption earlier, but this time I'll go. Good evening. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Pakhi, and today I'll be speaking for the motion. Let me narrate an incident. I ran into a fifth grader neighbor of mine in my dance class, and I was not very enthusiastic to see her, but because she was mean and pampered. But then I realized that she was there to see a therapist, and most importantly, for narcissism. This was my first encounter with the word narcissism, and in my opinion, I think parents play a major role in this. Parents are preoccupied. In some cases, parents are preoccupied with their lives, and sometimes this causes a void, an insecurity to be built in the child, and this has become this underlying cause of narcissism. Narcissism. This void has to be filled, and therefore parents give children form rather than substance, or presence rather than presence, presence rather than presence. And these excessive empty praises causes children to feel entitled about themselves, whereas they truly lack the confidence they need. The role of social media has played a major role in promotion of narcissism as well. The pop culture has seen a shift and increasing use of singular first person pronouns in the lyrics as well. But we need to understand that narcissism is this wide spectrum in which narcissism can be categorized as narcissistic personality traits or person having narcissistic personality disorder. This is really important to know. In both the cases, it can be treated, but to treat a problem, we need to acknowledge it first. And this is an epidemic that has been hovering over the future generation, and we need to act upon it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Pakhi. Thank you so much. Now, okay, Ansh, go ahead.
So thank you, ma'am. So my question to the candidate is, does defining your pronouns make you narcissistic? Because don't you think it is more about recognizing yourself and making others around you comfortable to come out and talk about their gender? Do you think defining who you are makes you narcissistic?
No, I did not. I would like to say this. This is a very interesting question, and even I was also thinking of this one, but not exactly that. Being comfortable with whoever you are is not narcissism, but there is a thin line between self-love and excessive self-love. That line is narcissism. Like one side, you can cause problem, you can create inconvenience to others, but at the other side, it's just self-love. So I think, is that sufficient?
Okay, thank you, Pakhi. Now, Akshat, can we have you here? I hope your internet is fixed. Akshat? Okay. Then, after this, we would move to.
Ma'am, am I audible and visible too?
Yes, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Myself, Akshat Gujrati. Today's topic is: are today's children becoming narcissists? Yes, I strongly affirm in the motion. In today's moralless world, egoism is the foremost virtue. And how can children remain unaffected from it? They have a strong astonishment, but they don't tolerate little criticism. They don't care for others' feeling, but wants everyone's attention towards them.
Akshat, sorry
What
to
may be the reason
interrupt
for this
you.
now?
Akshat, I can't see you. Like, please switch on your video and then you can start.
Ma'am, let's switch on.
Okay, but I'm not able
Want us to go ahead like that? We can go ahead, Akshat. If there is a problem at your end and you would like to take a turn later on, we can do that also. You decide, Vita, because even I am not able to see you.
Yes, because we are almost like we are done with for the
When you
motion.
talk, when you talk about intonation and presentation, there's a lot of weightage when it comes to your body movement and all.
Yes,
So I
because
guess
sir,
it is
we
important that
can't
your
be like it would be unfair for the other participants if we allow him without the video, right?
no, it would be unfair to him more than others. So therefore, Akshat, if you can just settle down your problems related to network child, and we can get back to you again, right? If the other participants are okay with it, can we give him another chance? Because this is a network problem; it can happen to anyone, right? Right?
Sure, sir.
So, sure.
Okay. So now we can move on to against the motion category. So next, we would love to hear, are today's children becoming narcissists against the motion? And the first participant we have with us is Vanshika.
Ma'am, before
Am I
Vanshika
audible?
begins, Vanshika, I'm really sorry, child. I'm interrupting you before you begin.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, can we take a 2 minutes break, Mega ma'am? Because already for the motion people have spoken. If the children are okay with it, I mean they can also, because they are sitting next to the screen. I guess this screen time may, because it's almost 1 hour, if I can see.
Okay, so we'll
So
do one
they
thing.
are
We'll
they are
just
staring
take a
at the
break
screen
for 1 minute.
constantly. Maybe 2 minutes eye break for them, right?
Okay, no worries. Okay, in the meanwhile, Akshat, can you please fix on your network connection? Maybe like try to switch on to a better network connection so that we can start with you.
Ma'am, I think now I will be visible and audible.
Okay, yes, now you are. Okay, in the meanwhile,
So let them take the break.
yes, after the break, we can start with you. And in the meanwhile, like I am just going through looking at the chat box and like the comment section. So we have shout outs going on. For Vanshika, we have then DPS Sonepat school ke liye we have lots of support coming up. Then I can see just a second. Yes, DPS Sonepat. बहुत सारे comments. Then Siddhi, for Siddhi, there is the comments for Siddhi. Then I can see for Vanshika, people are there to support you. Then I can see for Chetan, your friends have started coming up and they have started commenting for you in your support. So guys, just keep commenting, just keep supporting, keep voting for your favorite participants to make your favorite participant win. Okay.
I'm just one quick query again. So the votes aren't counted on the basis of how many times an individual posts in the chat, but rather than how many people do it, right? The number of people, not the number of times the person says it in the chat.
Yes, the number of people, because people are spamming. So the votes from like one account will be counted as one. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And also they have a limit on the number of votes that can be given.
Siddhi, I didn't get you.
I was just replying to him that also they have the limits that how many times a person can vote a particular individual.
Yes, one person can vote like once. Okay. Okay. Anurag sir, can we start?
It's okay for me. Just that the children has to give a go.
Okay. So kids, can we start? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. So can we go with Akshat now? I hope his internet connection is like he has fixed his internet connection, I suppose. Yes, Akshat, please just switch on your video and then you can start. Okay. Akshat, I suppose still there is some network connection from your side. No worries. So now, sir, can we move to against the motion category, right?
Please, ma'am. Let's not get the children waiting.
Yes.
Let's start.
Okay. So now we can move to against the motion category, and the first participant we have with us is Vanshika.
Thank you, Megha, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, clear.
Your voice is echoing. Your voice is echoing, sir.
I think someone has their
guys, just a request to everyone, just keep yourselves on mute. Yes, Vanshika.
It is still this. I think there's someone with the name of SC. They are unmuted, so because of that, my voice is echoing.
Okay. So, Amin sir, can you please mute yourself? Okay. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes.
So, can you please mute yourself?
Not Somin sir. Someone with the name of SC. Just SC. I think you can also see that.
Okay. You can start, Vanshika. I suppose now it's fine.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes.
Greetings. I, Vanshika Dhull from Delhi Public School, Sonepat, am going to pose against the motion. Are today's children becoming narcissists? For many years, psychologists and the media alike have treated narcissism as representing inflated self-esteem or self-esteem on steroids. With the onset of social media and its undistinguished accessibility, the term narcissist has been so frequently used that it seems to have lost its meaning. While we would probably react with skepticism if somebody diagnosed an entire generation as paranoid, and yet the labeling of today's contemporary generation as narcissist has become commonplace. When an individual with a natural body posts a video and loves their body, the first comment is obese. The second says, oh, what a narcissist. But wait, I seem to be missing something here. Isn't narcissism excessive self-centeredness, lack of empathy, and a stand-strong need for admiration? We live in a world where society and its prejudices have tradition as desirable as the standard of perfection. But it is nothing more than a dysfunction. After ages, finally, today's generation is standing up against all of it and making a path for self-love, acceptance, and esteem. Despite being ridiculed, mocked, and derided, today, not only individuals, but communities like LGBTQIA community have stood up and embraced themselves, yet are being constantly used as a ladder for society to claim as fancy narcissism. According to the World Self-Love Association, in the past 5 years, there has been a 58% increase in acceptance, equality, and representation. That makes me wonder, and you too, are today's kids really narcissists, or is this term just thrown around for no specific purpose? I believe a very thin line demarcates real facts from false assertions. And being a vigilant human, it is your responsibility to stand up to the real deal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Vanshika. Now I would like to open the floor for interjection.
Yes.
Okay, so I can see Kashyap.
Yes, ma'am. You say that the word narcissism is being thrown around everywhere as like it's a very simple word and a very common word now. But don't you think this destigmatizes the word, which makes narcissism as a trait more and more common throughout the society? Don't you think that this in itself would be causing narcissistic traits, narcissistic behavior to become more common, in turn making it more generalized in like the public?
Thank you for your amazing question, Kashyap. First of all, let's make something clear. You just said that using a word more and more is causing destigmatization. But I said that using that word more and more has led to losing its real meaning. I'm sure we all know depression. Fine, it destigmatizes depression, but the word is now used like a flail word. And I'll give a little stat here. According to the most used flail terms in 2020, the word narcissist is one of the 15 most used flail words. So people using the word for the opposite meaning, like I said, when an individual who accepts themselves for something, they're called a narcissist for acceptance. How do you think this is leading, or how do you think this is destigmatizing? This is rather using social media for its own cause. And I don't think this is destigmatization. Destigmatization is awareness, not unknown usage and widespread false assertions. I hope I justified your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanshika. Thank you so much. Now we can move on to Aditi.
Am I audible, clearly visible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. When there are scars, beautiful things can actually come forth. Khalil Gibran writes, out of the suffering emerge the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. Every life story can be a miracle or a tragedy. It just depends how you choose to write it. A very frenetic afternoon to one and all present here. This is Aditi Rawat, and today I'll be speaking against the motion. Are today's children becoming narcissists? Most of us issue second chances with zeal. The storytelling in our culture is immersed in the tales of hopes, forgiveness, and redemption. And while that all is very healthy, while given in wrong hand, hope and forgiveness may not represent an opportunity for change or growth or restoration, but permission to just keep the things going on as they are. Now, I would like to put forward two very diverging scenarios. Firstly, the children today have become so independent that they seem to be narcissistic. When you put yourselves out in public, you're bound to think about yourselves. On the other hand, most of the children are so much loved and supported by their parents, making them habitual of that dependency. Confidence is what we need. An assurance is what we portray. Today's generation has become underconfident and resistant to adjustment, to which I strongly believe is not a sign of becoming narcissist, but socially awkward. Also, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that Greta Thunberg, Ridhima Pandit, Zia Bastida, and many more children of this generation are not only self-confident, but have also portrayed that selfless, immense love for the nature, showcasing that they do not possess the traits of being narcissists. Therefore, I very strongly feel that it is not a trend that today's children are becoming narcissists. We all just need some attention. We all just want to make ourselves feel like individuals, feel unique. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you so much. So now I would love to like to open the floor for interjection. Okay, Ashmit, go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much. Right. So the opposition speaker vehemently denies the fact that today's children are essentially narcissistic, when very clearly, according to very comprehensive and detailed reports, such as by the child and adolescent psychiatry, have proved and showed repeatedly over the course of 2 decades, in fact, from of teens ages 13 to 17, with thousands of individuals as well, that increased social media usage directly proportional to potential narcissistic tendencies, and children today are undoubtedly more on social media. So with that being said, how can you so vehemently deny the fact that children are becoming more narcissistic in today's world?
Okay, thank you for that amazing question. But I do like how you mentioned the stats. I also have the stats to prove my point. Like I mentioned, Greta Thunberg, Ridhima Pandit, Zia Basrita, those were just three famous names. But I, for a fact, know that there are a lot of teenagers who have devoted themselves in this work. I know that in India, most of the, like according to the stats, if I go, around 60% of the animal welfare societies are run by the teens who are just reaching their adolescence. Isn't that something to be proved? I feel that children, narcissist, as mentioned by Vanshika, is used very randomly. It has lost its importance. It is just a very common term nowadays. If you think, and I feel like narcissist is a very heavy word, to be honest. You are not, there's millennials or Gen Z are not to be blamed for this growing trend, right? We have so many proofs, like as I told you, NGOs working, and for social media, it is your choice how you want to use it. It's not a general tendency, right? It's your choice, and I would like to rest my case with that.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you so much. Now we can move to Kartikey.
I hope I'm audible perfectly right now.
Yes, please go ahead.
Narcissist, an exceptionally handsome hunter so self-obsessed that he refused to drink water from a pond as it would shatter his lovely image in the water. Dear friends, ours is an unmythical world pulsating with reality. We represent a generation of smart, progressive, responsible, and empathetic individuals with a healthy mindset and not self-admired beings drowning into a mire of self-conceit or arrogance. Good afternoon, everyone. I, Kartikey Sharma of Dayawati Modi Academy, am here speaking against the motion, are today's children becoming narcissists? The next generation is selfish, immature, and self-serving. Interestingly, every generation thinks about the next generation and worries and thinks that it's unique to that generation. Perhaps a generation gap. We are the 21st century techno kids, and we can feel, think, and act with respect for ourselves as well as for others. We also believe that we are wrongly claimed as narcissists. Likes, emojis, and shares are our techno expressions to connect, collaborate, and celebrate cultural as well as global occasions with equal magnitude. In fact, the primary purpose of participating in today's debate is not to be streamed live or garner votes in order to satisfy any narcissist urge, but to get the joy of a healthy and spirited learning experience. The COVID-19 waves see the children impalpable to the world, but we did feel the pain of our near and dear ones, and we nursed them amidst anxiety and uncertainty with equal resilience, tolerance, and adaptability. You may call us self-lovers, but certainly not self-obsessed. And how can you ignore those children swaying in pride over the elephant bags on Republic Day parade, carrying ahead the legacy of bravery and courage and empathy? The children are a message to a time we will not see. Therefore, let it be spirited with positivity, patience, and progressive perspective. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I would love to open the floor for interjection. Okay. I can see only Ashmit. Okay, Ashmit, go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. So the opposition speaker talks about how we are becoming more progressive. So is your idea of being progressive having a heavily inflated ego, downtrodden people who are less privileged and less having? Is your idea of progressive such as having an inflated sense of self-importance and poor regard for others, which ultimately harm children in profound and detrimental manners? So.
The question is commendable. Thank you so much for the question. And I would like to place stress upon the things that the previous speakers just said before me. I guess it was Aditi. There are so many speakers and natural workers in our society who are teenagers. Greta Thunberg, for sure. I think you might be knowing about her, right? So there are so many examples, and I myself am an example right in front of you. I'm a part of a natural organization that works for nature as well as for poverty-stricken people on the roads. Also, I'm a part of an organization which provides a safe space for people to voice out their thoughts. Now, there are so many teenagers and people of our age who are indulged in this work, and you still say that they are not progressing. I just don't get it. I hope I made myself clear, sir.
Okay, thank you, Kartikey, thank you. Next, we can move to Shubhayu. Shubhayu, do we have you here?
Yes, I'm Shubhayu Mandal from NVN Bangalore. The question is, are today's children becoming narcissists? The answer is no, absolutely not. You cannot generalize that every child on earth has become a narcissist. Only a few may have this disorder or may have become narcissists because of certain reason. Not all the children in the world. Now there are around more than 2.2 billion children in the world who are below 18 years of age. Not all of them are narcissists. Narcissistic personality disorder affects an estimated 1% of the general population, according to the research by Theodore Millen published in 1996 in John Wiley, and another research study by Leonard Groupman and Arnold Cooper in 2006 published in Armenian Medical Network. Therefore, I believe we cannot generalize that children in the world are becoming narcissistic. You may be narcissist, but you cannot generalize every child is narcissist or becoming narcissist. You may undergo some therapeutic treatment to overcome your narcissistic personality disorder. However, it would be inappropriate to say that all the children are becoming narcissists. Secondly, there is no concrete research study ever published on number of narcissist children in the world. To claim that children are becoming narcissists, one has to provide some conclusive research study result. You cannot say that children are becoming narcissists. Conclusion cannot be drawn based on intuition or imagination. It needs to be based on evidence from research study. Thirdly, we all know becoming a narcissist will not help in establishing yourself, because to get a job or to have your own business in future, we need to produce result and perform. We all know in today's world it's perform or perish. I would recommend my fellow participant to understand that we children are not fools. We all have common sense that hard work, learning, showcasing your talent by doing an excellent job is important. Then the self-praise narcissist approach doesn't help at all in getting a job. Some type of typical characteristics of narcissists are they want to have their own way and mostly on self-protective mode. They don't learn easily from others. They listen only for the kind of information they seek. We cannot say all the children are demonstrating this attribute. Therefore, I conclude that it's very evident that today's children are not becoming narcissists. I'm open for interjection. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivayu. Now I would like to open the floor for interjection. Okay, yes, Siddhi, go ahead.
Shubhayu, your speech was awesome, but I have one question for you. You mentioned that a very small proportion of children have turned narcissists. But would you not agree that there are very few children who possess rich moral values in today's world of, as my opponents also mentioned, social media and everything? What are your views about it?
Look, there are 2.2 billion children in the world, and it's all people of 1%.
Okay, I hope Siddhi, our question is clear. Question is
Yeah, I
answered.
didn't get the answer, but it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we can move to Samreen. Samreen, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Samreen Jagga and I represent Mount Literacy School. Today, I speak against the motion. The motion being a question: are we children becoming narcissists? On here, the first question that popped into my mind: what exactly is being a narcissist? Well, a narcissist is a person who has an excessive admiration of themselves. So, is saying that children today are becoming narcissistic fair? No, it is not. Narcissist as a word or as a concept is a clinical diagnosis. Thus, it is unfair to use it for children whose worldview is formed not by themselves but by the adults around them. Children do not have a lot of sense of agency or control over their worldview. Thus, calling them narcissistic is unjust. Inherently, till the age of 5, the nature of children is such that they are egocentric. That is, their world revolves around themselves and their parents, and the concept of empathy is not fully formed. Thus, beyond this age, children start developing social and emotional intelligence and finally enter the social world, becoming the social beings we see them to be. These are stages of development and should not be misunderstood as narcissism. As we all know, things today are different from what they were 15 or 20 years ago. Technology has developed, how we interact with people has developed, parenting styles have changed, and yet people expect things to remain the same. Today, we youngsters have a lot more access to information and to technology. Thus, we now understand our identity better, a place in the world better, a purpose in life better than it was 15 or 20 years ago. The older generation is not used to seeing children being active or vocal about themselves, which is why they often label the relationship of children with themselves as being narcissistic, which is wrong in every sense. Children today are aware of what private space is. Thus, they respect the privacy of others and want their privacy to be respected too. However, India as a country is very collectivistic. People care about everybody else, which is a great thing. But if someone starts demanding privacy, people take offense. Self love and taking up personal space is not narcissism, and adults need to understand this. Concluding my argument, I'd just like to say just as facts are in science and a dictionary is in literature, self love is in narcissism. People need to understand this and balance it with collectivism. Thank you.
Thank you, Samreen. Thank you so much. Now, I would love to open the floor for interjection. Okay, Ansh, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. So the candidate is repeatedly talked about privacy. So my question to you is, do you think privacy and narcissism are correlate with each other? Because personally speaking, they do not. Narcissism is about having self-obsession about yourself, and how do I put it? It's an admiration of oneself, and privacy is just being alone. So if a person asks for privacy, it does not really mean that they're not narcissistic. They can definitely be narcissistic if they ask for privacy. What is your opinion on this, candidate?
Thank you for your question. My opinion is that, of course, there are chances that somebody who demands privacy a lot may be narcissistic. However, I, as a child, am an introvert. Thus, if I want privacy, I do not want people to interfere in my life. And if that is people termed as being rude or being narcissistic, then it is wrong. There might be some people who are narcissistic and demand privacy, but demanding privacy is not wrong in its place. Thank you. I hope I justified your question.
Thank you, Samreen. Thank you so much. Next, we can move to Pratisht.
Ma'am, am I clearly audible and visible?
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. Today the topic at my hand says, are children nowadays narcissists? I am against this. Now, what we need to understand is that psychological terms have always found their way in the mainstream verbiage. However, in common vernacular, they are often misinterpreted and misused. Now, for an example, if I call someone psycho, it does not mean that they are diagnosably psychopaths. If I am having mood swings, that does not mean that I am suffering from bipolar disorder. If I am sad and dull for a day or two, it does not mean that I am suffering from depression. Same way, if I have self-respect in me, I have dignity in me, I take my self-care, I have self-love, and I am self-confident, it does not mean that I am narcissist. Now, everyone over here is talking about some stats, so let me present it to you. Now, according to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder, it is clearly stated that the amount of narcissists in this world, in the general population, is pretty much stable between 0 to 1%. Now, is this is a very small amount for a term to be used as a widespread. Therefore, I believe that personally, this term is being widespread, misinterpreted, and misused. Now, when it comes to us children, this all the definitions of narcissism is just not applicable on us. What narcissism is, in a small words, is me, and only me. Well, we as a children of this generation think that narcissism is me, we, and you. Now, if we think that it's me, we, and you, it does not mean that we are narcissists. It means we are selfless, we are social, and we are practical. This being of practical does not mean that we are narcissists. Now, being of self-care and self-love is generally termed as narcissism in this society nowadays. The general society is nowadays overestimating the prevalence of narcissism in a child. Whereas when researchers say that there is a rise in narcissism, they often talk about the disorder and not the they often talk about the trait and not the disorder. When I ask myself a question that is it only about me, I often get the answer, no, it's not only about me. And same does this millennial generation, where everyone is very much working on the field of poverty, having ideas to decrease poverty, having new ideas to increase the development in this country. And when our time comes, we'll surely do that and take care of everyone around us and live happily and peacefully. I would like to rest my case by saying this simple quote that I love the most. You only have to see in others' goal when you think that they don't have enough. And that's what we do. And it is not terms as narcissist, it terms as we take care of ourselves and when necessary, take care of other and the ones in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratish. Thank you so much. Now, just a second. We can go with Rohan.
So Pratish, you just said right now that we are just overestimating children and that we are just overestimating them basically, right? So you cannot here ignore the role of criticism. That criticism is of course required to control them, right? So what if we just let them go because of overconfidence? How would you acknowledge this?
That was a wonderful question, Rohan. I would like to answer that with how much accuracy I can and how much I can give it to you. See, overestimating is bad, but estimating someone is necessary. Now, if I over criticize someone, it directly attacks to their morale. And if I don't criticize anyone, they often tend to become narcissists. We have to balance it between over criticizing and under criticizing. We have to criticize, not overestimate. We have to estimate its prevalence and then we have to work on it. Now, let me give you an example. Now, people think that, like many of the other house, they said that people like being in the imaginative, their own dreams, their own big castle, where they are kings and mighty and the superior. But what I think is, if someone does not think about being the superior one, how will anyone become superior? Because if you think 100, you'll get 90. But if you only start thinking from 50, you'll get 40. So I think that we should always think of 110 and not 50. So obviously criticizing is important, but overestimating and over criticizing often tend to decrease our morale, and often that hurts on our confidence, and that leads to many other things, like many of us said, suicidal cases. Thank you. I hope I solved your question.
Thank you, Pratish. Thank you so much. Now we can move to Shruti. Shruti Jaiswal. Yes, please go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Shruti Jaiswal, representing Vapi Public School, speaking against the motion that no, today's children are not being narcissists. The term narcissism originated from Greek mythology, where a young man named Narcissus fell in love with his own reflection in a pool of water. The narcissism traits are of being self-centered, arrogant, having little to no consideration for others' feelings. But how come this generation is the one who draws inspirations from young leaders like Greta Thunberg and Gitanjali Rao, who always advocate selflessness and who place greater good over personal interests? We follow them, so how can this generation be called narcissists? A very famous expert on personality states that named James Marcusson states that a personality is made up of three factors: fate, nature, and nurture. While fate is out of our control, nature and nurture depends on our upbringing. I believe that parents of modern times are quite well educated and aware about the importance of humility and humbleness. They try to inculcate these values in their children too. So how can the children of the generation of parents who are so well aware become narcissists? It is schools who are the schools which are the second place of nurture for us, teach us to be global citizens and future leaders who embrace everybody, who embrace our responsibilities, who value experiences over possessions. So how are we becoming narcissists if we are only relying on our self-esteem and confidence to open doors for us? I've heard people mention how social media is turning children into narcissists. But have we forgotten about the cancel culture that exists on social media? The structure of cancel culture does not allow anybody to speak anything that is offensive or inappropriate for any condition. We often find celebrities in scandals where they are being called out for their behavior. So how do we not believe that children would be called out too? My fourth notion would be that we are all very self-conscious and aware about our characteristics, our traits, and our behaviors. So we can easily find ourselves being narcissistic if we overanalyze ourselves every time. And even if we fall in the category of being narcissistic, we can always correct it because we have the opportunity of correction. This comes from self-awareness too. I would like to rest my case by only stating that we all want to touch the sky, we all want to reach the horizon, but at the same time, we are well aware about what things we need to do for reaching those limits. We always need to be connected to our roots, and if we are not, how would we reach heights? I would also like to say that there is a thin difference between narcissism and self-importance and self-love. The difference is just as much as the difference exists between vanity and pride and affection and obsession. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you so much. Now, okay. Vanshika, go ahead.
That was something of a speech, Shruti. You said that social media, cancel culture exists, but the foundation of your speech is mostly based out of people who have a larger platform. But they are 0.001% of a whole generation. How can you claim those examples, state that cancel culture keeps us in check, while cancel culture is not applicable on every single one of the persons who are in social media? Cancel culture is only applicable to a very small proportion. How can you say that that keeps people in check? How can you say that excessive self-importance is different from narcissism? And please don't use these two examples. I would love to have a greater proportion and a bigger picture in the answer.
All right. That was a wonderful question. And to answer your question, critiques exist everywhere. Even on a small social media page, we find critiques everywhere giving their feedbacks. About cancel culture, whenever anybody comments or gives their feedback about something, people usually take it into consideration. Though we might not do it publicly, but privately, when we come for our self-analysis, we usually take these things into consideration. And what I believe is that morals and motivations, they permeate in groups. That is, even a small group of people can actually influence a greater group by permeating their ideas and thoughts. So we could take an example of any person who is being extraordinary or who is actually exaggerating their own selves. But even if one person comments about how they are being extra, everybody else starts looking through that image also. Hence, it can lead to correction too. Hope I answered your question properly.
Shruti, thank you for your answer. Yes, it was a good answer, but also a little update here. Narcissists wouldn't care about the critics around them because they don't care about anyone saying anything. They are so self-centered. Second of all, you already answered my question and doubts that people might not do it publicly, but privately they might make a private account and use it. So that doesn't prove the fact that publicly you might not be a narcissist, but then again, privately you are. That means this generation is becoming narcissistic. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, could I answer this question also?
No, actually cross
It is a
questioning.
conclusion.
Yeah,
It
she
was
was
not
just
an answer, it was a
concluding. That was
conclusion.
not a question. Okay, so then we can move to Chetan. Yes, Chetan, do we have you here?
Am I completely audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon. And my name is Chetan Mehta, and I am from Sarafa with Niketan. I am here to express my views against emotion. Self-admiration, up to an extent, is good and even necessary. It makes a person happier and it makes him more confident. I might think that you all know legendary footballer late Diego Maradona. He was a bit egoistic person and always does self-appraisals. Yet, he's one of the greatest players in the history of football. But he was a self-admirer and not a narcissist. There is a thin line of difference between becoming a narcissist and being a self-admirer. And I don't feel that today's children are crossing that line. Yes, ma'am, I completely and surely deny the myth that today's children are becoming narcissists. Today's parents are well aware and alert towards nurturing their children. Let me tell you about Master Trapt Raj Pandya. At the age of 6, he was awarded a certificate from the Guinness Book of World Record for being the youngest ever tabla master. And there are many children like him. If these children are engaged in self-obsession and these children are narcissistic, they would never have achieved this much. Parents also try to maintain that we don't get over-pampered. Children develop narcissistic disorder when they are unhappy, disappointed, or maybe depressed. But nowadays, parents are more educated. They try to create a stress-free environment around their children. So I don't see this situation existing anymore. You all might have heard a proverb, as you saw, so you reap. Means when the children and the younger ones are always in the ambience of their elderly people, they're going to imitate them and do as directed by their parents, and hence they're never ever going to become a narcissistic. I'll end my case. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, Chetan. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to open the floor for interjection. Okay, so we can move to Paki.
You said you don't see the situation getting the population becoming narcissistic. Then how do you justify the statistics that at least the rising status of narcissistic personality, narcissistic traits in people?
Sorry, I didn't got your question.
You said you don't believe that the situation is getting worse regarding narcissism. Then how do you justify the statistics that are rising with the population now?
Okay, first of all, I have not particularly seen that statistics are rising. Basically, you all have seen some incidents. Recent incident was of UP girl who slapped a cab driver 22 times. Yeah, it was a bit egoistic thing, but not almost and not all of them are being narcissistic. Parents are being educated. They try to create a stress-free environment around the children. The children understand what a parent is doing. And when you get educated, you know for a fact that narcissism and what you do is the children is getting. So basically, when the children are seeing and imitating what their elder people and their father and their mother doing, they would not become a narcissistic person. Statistics, okay, they may be rising, but the more education the people are going to get, and then the statistics are going to decrease. I hope you answered question.
Okay, thank you, Chetan. Thank you so much. Next, we can move to Ansh Jain. Ansh, do we have you here?
Yes, ma'am. So can you hear me and see me properly?
Yes, go ahead.
Sure. So good afternoon, the House at large. Today, I, Ansh Jain, I'm going to speak against the motion that this House believes that today's children are becoming narcissists. So I would like to start off by defining the key terms of the debate. The term narcissism comes from the Greek myth of Narcissus, the handsome young man who falls in love with his own reflection in a pool of water. Narcissism can be better defined as the excessive interest in or admiration of oneself or one's physical appearance. An article by Psychology Today talks about how easy it is for people to cheat on research that is conducted regarding empathy and narcissism. A person could easily fake oneself as being low in narcissism and high in empathy, or the reverse. But let's consider them to be accurate for 1 second. According to studies, the scores that are achieved in this questionnaires correlate reliably with real world behavior. For example, those who score high in narcissism have been seen to overrate their own abilities and likely to commit white collar crimes at higher rates than the general public. But in the US, white collar crimes have drastically gone down in the last 20 years, with the number of prosecutions peaking under the Obama presidency and coming to an all-time low under the Trump presidency. Those who score low in empathy are more likely than the average person to engage in bullying and are less likely to volunteer to help the people in need. However, the pandemic has brought about a change where people have become more considerate and empathetic. Young children have also grown a sense of empathy as they've witnessed adults in their lives suffer and even pass away in the last year or so. The opposition has repeatedly said that children are becoming more narcissistic over the years. However, it is just not true, because children are becoming more competitive and more self-conscious rather than narcissistic. You're setting a very bad example if you say that it is not important for someone to be self-conscious just because they might be called narcs. It is important as one needs to put their own needs first. We should not declare self-consciousness as narcissism. With this, I would like to rest my case. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ansh. Thank you. Then I would like to open the floor for interjection. We can have Shivayu. Shivayu, please go ahead.
As you mentioned in US, can you cite more example about your to be specific about your point where children are not becoming narcissists?
So I stated in the starting itself, all the research and investigation that they're not really accurate, because it is very easy for a person to cheat on them. But I was specifically talking about white collar crimes and how they have decreased. So the research have come to a conclusion that people who are more narcissistic, they're likely to commit white collar crimes. And over the years, it has been seen white collar crimes have decreased because, people are becoming more aware about the complications and, the problems they face if they commit white collar crimes. So US being one of the great example, it has decreased, and a similar trend can be seen in other countries as in Australia and in Canada. So I think I've made myself clear.
Okay, so thank you, Ansh. Next, we can move to Divneet Kaur. Yes, Divneet, please go ahead. Divneet, do we have you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
So let me tell you all a story from the Greek mythology first. Narcissus, the son of the river god Cephissus, was a really handsome man and was known for his beauty. But he never recognized himself, as there was a curse on him that if he ever saw his own reflection, he'd die on the spot. He used to reject all the ladies. So one day he saw his own reflection in the fresh water of the river, and it's pretty obvious that he died right there. Like, what are we even talking about here? That man just clubbed his appearance a lot, right? What's so wrong about that? So, the term narcissism comes from this Greek mythology. Narcissism is a personality disorder, which means being obsessed with oneself so much that you ignore the needs of the other people around you. So, if we talk about today's children becoming narcissists, I would like to deny that by giving you some examples. So, nowadays, 60 to 70% of the parents are working parents who are not able to spend much time with their children. And in order to compensate the time spending with the children, they start giving their money and anything their child needs to them. Once their child stops talking to them or rarely shares any problem with them, their parents start believing that, oh my god, my child has become a narcissist. He or she only thinks about him or herself. But the real thing is that the child might be so depressed and so sad and they don't even know about it. Because their child knows that if I go to them, they won't understand me. Many people think that if someone is admiring themselves a lot and if someone is taking care of themselves more than someone else, then bro, he or she is a total narcissist. She only thinks about himself or herself. But let me tell you all, if a person is loving themselves just the way they are, and if someone is looking out for themselves, then they won't be called narcissist. Narcissism is a personality disorder. So, I would like to conclude my speech by telling you that today's children have started finding their own happiness in their own self, and they have started to love themselves with the help of the influencers on the social media and many other things, which is really great for our generation. So, today's children are not becoming narcissists. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I would open the floor for interjection. Okay, then we can. Just a second. Hemant, please go ahead.
So my question is that you gave us a case that the parents are working, they are not able to get enough time with their children. So misunderstanding does not mean that the children gets not connected. My parents were also working since I had a connection with them and I used to share my problems with them. So just because they're not getting enough time does not mean that the parents are misunderstanding the child. So can you justify this?
Thank you for your question. First of all, this question is not relating to the fact that the children are becoming narcissists. Your question is that I would like to explain this question by saying that even my parents are working, but many times it happens that they are not able to give me time. But I haven't been in depression or anything like that, and I haven't been a narcissist too. So, first of all, this question, I don't think it would relate to the fact that because parents are not giving time, it just doesn't relate to children becoming narcissists. Your question was I guess your question was kind of something else. Thank you. I hope the answer is clear.
Actually, I was not mentioning the relationship of narcissism with the source you gave. I was just asking about the source you gave. How did you support that statement with narcissism? If the source is wrong, then how can you relate narcissism with it? It is a cross question. You are not supposed to answer this. This was just a summary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, do we have Akshat back in the house? Can we have you? If your network is, net connection is fixed? Okay, I suppose he's not responding. Okay. So after this, we come to the end of the debate competition, and now I would love to hear the viewpoints of our jury members. So, Somin sir, please just share your views.
It's a privilege for me to be here, and I thank Entab for giving me this opportunity to be on this platform. When I was hearing from the children, it gives me immense pleasure that yes, we are on the right path for our future citizen, because they are thinking not only for themselves but also thinking for the society.
Right.
And that is quite clear from their speeches. And this type of debate competition, whenever they should participate, is not only gives them a boost for their personality, but also gives them a chance to do something for their community by thinking, so that they can implement their thoughts in real action. So that is one thing. And whenever those who are the participants, all of you are friends. Whenever debate competition will be over, you will be again come to your own place, one platform. I have a request to all of you that do something for your country and for this world, and take lessons from your nearby society and neighborhood, so that by participating in this competition, not only you will be habituated in this type of speech competitions and in realistic source of action. that will be beneficial for our country. And in different boards, Ministry of Education is trying to inculcate a good habits among the youngsters by arranging different competitions. And Entab is also trying their best to make the children happy by participating in this type of things, so that they can also show their talent. And by the way, I'm thanking Entab to give this opportunity to children of the whole country, not only for a particular region. I am living in the eastern region, and I today am very thankful with another jury member, principal of Rand Education School. He is from Jaipur,
right.
And this is the things that we are coming in this platform, in this global platform, I should say, because day by day, I hope that Entab will definitely will able to bring global people in this platform, and my best wishes always be there.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we would love to have Anurag, sir.
Thank you, Megha, for the opportunity. I'm so elated to see the kind of presentation that the children have put up. And I'm so it's easy to find faults, but I must first focus on the positives the children have. So many of them have come up with, real good statistics. They have quoted them upfront. They've used it to the benefit. And, when it comes to interjection, there was a certain quality which I've seen that, children were not only observing other speech, which is very, very important, because in a debate, usually what happens is a speaker speaks and then, forgets. But here, what is happening is they are more into what the others are making a point, and they are not only putting a question, they are putting a relevant question, which is very important. The topic is very interesting, but we need to understand that self-love is very, very important for our children. There is a thin line, as somebody has, a lot of them have already quoted. And I'm very, very, happy to understand that they know their generations well. They know the shortcomings, they know the advantages, they know their potential, which is very, very important, because if they have to grow from here, they need to know what are their strengths and what are their shortcomings. So they understand it well, and I'm sure had it been an event which was a turntable kind of an event where they had to speak both in for and against the same topic, they would have done that pretty good, because interjection for me was like focus for the motion, a person is asking against the motion or against, the people, those who are speaking against, are asking their students. So that gives fear. At the result, there is, just as there is a very thin line between self-love and narcissism, there is a very thin line between urge of winning. So please, when the result is down.
Yes, sir. So, Anurag, sir.
You have spoken very, very well, but there has to be some distinction.
Okay.
Yeah, Megha.
So, thank you so much to all.
Am I audible, Megha?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You were speaking something. You want to continue, sir?
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to, but I thought my audio is my audio at lag, or am I not audible?
Yes.
I just want to emphasize that when it comes to presentation, there are certain good children who have presented their logics pretty well, but they missed on the intonation of their voice or diction. There is one child in particular who has, however, taken care of it, because when you speak, your flow, if your flow or the pace of your speech is good, you somehow forget that you need to clearly pronounce the words, right? And if you kind of emphasize on clearly pronouncing the word or speaking the word, you somehow miss out on the pace. So you have to strike a balance between them. And there are certain children who have done that pretty well. Congratulations to them. And congratulations to Entab for this platform for these children. And I'm sure result is only a formality from right now here. Congratulations to all the speakers. You spoke very well, children.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, yes, congratulations to all of you. All of you did a great job. And thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much to all the participants over here. And thank you so much to our esteemed jury members who joined us for this debate competition. And yes, how can I forget? Thank you to all the lovely audience who have joined us for this debate competition. So thank you so much. And okay, so I would like to mention the results of this debate competition would be announced after 2 days. Okay, till then you have time. Like we'll get the scores from the jury members, but after like 2 दिन बाद उससे पहले तक you have the time. Voting lines would be open, and after 2 days, both the clubbed like the scores of the jury members, then the votes they would be clubbed, and the winner would be announced. Till then, stay happy, stay at home, and to all the lovely audience, just keep supporting for your favorite participant to win. And make sure before voting, before commenting, you subscribe before commenting. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
ma'am.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Ma'am.